about today's show. Again, my name is Chairidee Smith. I am Miss Mogul. You are in for a special conversation today with Mogul Talk. I want you to get your laptop and your latte. I have a very special guest today. You don't want to miss this conversation about the power of positioning. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Mogul Talk, where wealth and lifestyle converge. We are Mindset Media, dealing with business, social relevance, abundance, lifestyle, and spirituality. This is your time. This is your moment. And this is your host, Ms. Mogul, Chairidee Smith.
Hello, everybody, and I am back. Today, we are in for a special treat with my guest today. Let me tell you a little bit about this powerhouse of a woman. Coined the pint-sized powerhouse for her infectious energy, unrelenting tenacity, and timeless ability to captivate audiences, and you're going to get a chance to hear that, through her relevant and riveting storytelling. Seneca Dunmore is an international speaker coach. We love those. Global philanthropist, absolutely. Tireless humanitarian and ambassador for self-mastery and empowerment. I already know I'm going to enjoy this conversation. She has traveled to over 40 countries. Again, a woman after my own heart who has been featured in national and international media outlets like the New York Times, Essence Magazine, Black Enterprise, and Afrochella. Her portfolio also includes features with Fox News, KPRC right here in the city of Houston, KHOU, 97.9, 93.7, and many more. Now, without further ado, come on in the studio.
Yay!
Come on in the studio.
Thank you.
That's you. That's you. I am thrilled to have this conversation with you this morning. So I found you on LinkedIn.
Yes.
And reached out. I kind of followed your portfolio for a little while. So this is a woman that I absolutely want to have the next powerful conversation with. So I'm so glad you were able to come on today and share with our audience. We have folks listening literally all around the world. So somebody who has seen you in one of those 40 countries is probably saying, yeah, I remember her. I know her. So absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you again for being here. I love what you're all about.
Thank you.
Your ability to capture audiences and the ability to storytell. I want to talk to you today about the power of positioning. We are Mindset Media for today's moguls, and many of our moguls are globally and internationally. So much is happening now, politically, socially, economically, in our healthcare. Everything is kind of moving. So to have a conversation about positioning and all of that movement and all of that chaos, I would even call it chaos. Somebody may call it chaos, but in that could be the environment we need to evolve, to grow, etc. Tell us, first of all, what is positioning now as a leader, as a thought leader, as a human being, as a spirit being right now? What is positioning? What does that even mean?
You know, positioning is, I remember when I was having my health challenges. And so that's kind of how I got into the motivational speaking. And I just remember kind of just struggling with God one day, like, why me? Why did I, why am I going through this? And I remember him saying, why not you? Oh, wait a minute. Okay. And so he led me to the book of John. I think it's maybe the 9th chapter. And it talks about, Jesus and his disciples are walking. And so his disciples, they passed by a man who's been blind since birth. And they asked him, like, Rabbi, who sinned? Because, of course, in those times, it was believed that if you had some physical ailment and some type of deformity, if you had some type of curse on your life, that it was a result of your sin or the sin of your parents, right? People in your previous history.
Come on.
And so, God said, nobody sinned, but that the power of God may be displayed through him, right? And so as I was going through my health challenges and thinking, Lord, why me? What did I do so wrong? And he said, listen, I'm not punishing you. I'm positioning you, right?
Stop right there.
Yes.
Hold on. Wait. Because see, first of all, I did not know you were a woman of the word. I should have discerned and picked that up. But I knew there was something. And I'm kind of like the crowd speaking to Peter. Your speech betray you. Now I see you. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Now I know who you are.
Absolutely.
But listen, you talked about something, and I love that. So that there again, we are kindred spirits in that. Love the word. Love the word. I love what you said. You bring that up about no one sinned. It was so that the glory of God could be revealed. Let's talk about capacity. Because some people are probably wondering, why is this happening now? Those people who don't have that kind of anchor, right? Because so many times as leaders, we leave our spirituality, we leave our faith and our belief systems outside. I don't know why. But we need to show up with all of us at the table. But what you're saying to me is you were chosen because you had the capacity. Absolutely. That's what I heard. The capacity to demonstrate this kind of power and strength in what seems to be a less than desirable situation with a health challenge.
Oh, yeah.
You're still able to project. Talk to us about that.
You know, I always tell people sometimes God gives his best students the hardest test. And, you know,
that's good.
And, you know, when we hear people talk about, oh, well, God will never put more than you can bear. That's a lie.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That's a lot on you.
That's a bold-faced lie.
Exactly. That's a bold-faced lie. And we hear that all the time, that, oh, he'll never put, but he will, because guess what? At some point, he wants you to lean on his capacity, right? Because at that moment, I had to go and find that intrinsic power, that intrinsic wisdom, because we're always looking for stuff outside ourselves instead of going within and pulling it out, right? And so I had to really go inside myself and say, well, Lord, you know, I surrender. I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know what else to do. And I just had to look for that. The rescue that I was looking for was in here, not out there.
Mm-hmm. That's good. So how do you do that though? How do you go within and pull it out? Because so many leaders, again, are looking for an anchor, right? There's a lot that has transpired in 2020 with all of the social unrest. Then we have 2021 on top of a pandemic, on top of an economic crisis, on top of education challenges, on top of all of this stuff that's going on. So I want to ask you, for those who may be listening, how do I go within and find that intrinsic power? How do I get centered and anchored and positioned so that regardless of the chaos that's going on around me, I can still be laser focused, I can be productive, and more than just what I do, I can be a whole, complete being, right? How do I do that?
You know, it's very multifaceted. Number one, you know, start with the word. That helps, right? Because a lot of times people are standing on the premises when they should be resting on his promises, right? So if you don't know what his promises are and what his word is, then it's easy to kind of get lost in the shuffle, right? And then you have to be self-aware, because I think what COVID did for us in this season is it introduced us to ourselves, because you have to with yourself, right? And a lot of times people didn't like what they saw, because you're right. They didn't have anybody to turn to, because you had to basically quarantine and you had to get to know yourself. Also, you know, you got to make sure that you're in the right circles and in the right spaces, because I always tell people, everybody does not deserve a front row seat to your life. Some people you need to put in the balcony and wave at them from time to time. Put them in a balcony, wave at them from time to time.
Give them the cheap seats. Give them the cheap seats.
At the top, say how y'all doing. But guess what? They don't deserve a front row seat, right? Because everybody who's in your circle ain't in your corner.
Okay, so wait. When I said come on and be the sage, you spitting these colloquialisms. And listen, I'm a woman from the South, right?
Yes.
And we believe in pearls, and we call them pearls of wisdom.
Right,
You're giving us, and you know, not today, this is proverbial, you know, I'm going back here. But you're giving us these proverbial pearls. Not everyone, and this is all about positioning. Not everyone, first of all, deserves a front row seat to your life.
That's right.
Secondly, you have to be self-aware. And I know you're just rattling this off and you probably were just giving it, but I want those who are listening, who are taking notes, really listen to what this woman is saying. Not everyone deserves a front row seat. What COVID did for us was, again, put us front and center. with ourselves, that isolation and that quietness gave us the opportunity to detox, to reevaluate, to reassess, to realign, and to just kind of revisit some of the relationships professionally, spiritually, socially.
Absolutely.
All of that gave us that opportunity. And now as we're emerging, what I'm hearing you say is, now that we've reassessed, not everyone has the front row seat. So now realignment with relationships, positioning.
That's right. Because see, at some point, like, I always tell people in the fall, things fall off, right? Leaves, all right. And so we had to shed some layers during COVID. Give you a prime example. I always tell people, one of the things I love to watch is the space shuttle launch, right? It's just absolutely fascinating. And even though I've never wanted to be an astronaut, right? I love looking at the space shuttle launch because there's 4 components of the space shuttle, right? You have the space shuttle itself, which is called the orbital. You have the external fuel tank, which is that big piece right in the middle that's really bright orange. And then on the side of it, you have 2 solid rocket boosters. Now, the only purpose of those solid rocket boosters is to give it enough momentum to get off the ground and break into the atmosphere. And guess what? After about 2 minutes, right, and moving at about 18,000 miles an hour, after it has spent all of its fuel, guess what the solid rocket boosters do? They fall off. Okay. And so there's some people that God has positioned in your life to be those solid rocket boosters, because had you not had them, right, they wouldn't have given you the extraordinary acceleration to get to that next level. And once that level is complete, guess what? Their assignment in your life is complete and they fall away. And that's okay. Because a lot of times we're holding on to things and holding on to people that their season has expired. Their season has expired. And guess what? They need to fall off.
Yes. Because at some point, if it does not fall off, it then becomes dead weight.
It then becomes dead weight.
And the ascension cannot happen the way it needs to happen. You have to be come on, you preaching today. You have to have a certain weight, a certain positioning, a certain form in order to ascend. There is form, there is momentum, there is velocity. All of these components come into play. But if the weight is off, then it's going to fall. It's not going to ascend the way it has to. You are hitting on it this morning. Look, you taking it back to my roots right now. This is good, because so many people are wondering why and how, and why even some of the business or the professional relationships are not functioning the way they used to.
That's right.
And I can speak personally to this. There may be relationships you've had, in my case, for a decade, right? And when you start to move into different arenas, those people, if you're not very careful, will change.
That's right.
And if you take people who are not assigned to that area in your life, that space in your life with you, you will find that there will be erosion.
That's right.
The relationship will erode. Your creativity will erode. The respect for each other will erode, because you stayed there too long. Absolutely. And we can take that into marriage. We can take that in everything. Everything. You hit it. That's good. That's good. Please continue. Yes, we have a couple more minutes before break, but please go ahead.
Everything. Because again, timing is everything. Reason, season, a lifetime, right? And that's what everything. At some point, everything expires. Nothing on this side is forever. So, and we have to be okay with that, because we taught to believe in fairy tales, right? That everything lasts forever, and somebody's going to ride on this knight in shining armor and come rescue you, right? And so we believe in those things, and then when things don't manifest the way that we believe that they should, then we're disappointed, right? But again, that's just life, and that's just how it plays out, and it's okay, and we just have to be okay with that.
Listen. The 15 minutes has gone faster than I thought. So I need to take this one commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk about your signature talk and how to really get positioned. Now that we've talked about the thought of it, now let's get into application. How do we become the leaders, the thought leaders, the global transformative figures that we're supposed to be after we have this conversation? So we're going to take this break and we'll be right back.
Are you ready to break out and break through. Wait no longer. Chairidee Smith, known as Ms. Mogul, has created a breakthrough course and mastermind called the Mogul Method for multidimensional leaders wanting to harness their creative power and release their next big idea, transforming their performances, culture, and leadership. A highly sought-after media personality, business and transformative leader, Ms. Mogul enraptures her audience, taking them on a journey of personal and performance discovery with laughter, candor, a biting wit, and over 20 years of business acumen and leadership. Go to www.youcancreateyourown.economy.com now to awaken the mogul in you.
And we are back. Listen, you all, we are having a dynamic conversation with the one and the only Seneca Dunmore, and I can already tell I'm going to have you back. I want to talk to you now, and let's pivot a little bit, because we know that you're a global philanthropist. You're a speaker and a speaker coach, powerfully evident right now. You have crafted this signature talk called The Power of Positioning.
Yes.
What, first of all, is the inspiration of that? And how, in this environment, are you leveraging this particular talk in a global pandemic to generate multiple streams of income? How are you doing that? So now let's get into the science of it.
Yeah. So the way the power of positioning came about, when I was in college, I started having some health challenges. And they just kind of came out of nowhere. I was going to all these different gastroenterologists trying to figure out what was wrong. Nobody could make a diagnosis. So I went in one day for a simple outpatient procedure, the endoscopy, where they stick that long scope down your throat. And they couldn't get it down because my throat was so strictured. So years of throwing up had been eating up the lining of my digestive system. So when I woke up from the procedure, I'm surrounded by all these nurses and doctors and anesthesiologists. And so one of the nurses stepped forward and said, well, Ms. Dunmore, we have a problem. We noticed you had a really tight stricture, and we tried to dilate it, and it ruptured. So right now you're bleeding internally. We need to get you into surgery immediately. So they rushed me into surgery. I come out of surgery about 3 hours later, completely blind. So when people say, you know, when you sing songs like I once was blind, but now I see, I know exactly what that means, right? So I come out of surgery 3 hours later, blind in ICU. My sight finally returned about 4 days later when they took me out of ICU and then put me in my own room. And then that night, I was accidentally overdosed on morphine by one of the nurses and went into cardiac arrest. So I went from normal college student working on her master's degree to ruptured esophagus, bleeding internally, emergency surgery, waking up in ICU blind, and then being overdosed on morphine and going into cardiac arrest in a matter of 9 days. And so again, you know, like I said, I was wrestling with God, like, what did I do wrong? I must be being punished, you know, and that's when he told me that I was being positioned. And so I found out about this holistic facility up in Massachusetts called Canyon Ranch, where they practice holistic medicine.
Yes, I've heard of them.
Yes. Oh, best 7 days of my life. And it was $12,000. And I didn't have the money. So I remember talking to one of my girlfriends like, hey, I found this facility. Maybe they can help me. I said, but you know, I can't afford it. So I'm gonna just keep on looking for another doctor here in Houston. She said, well, Seneca, if money wasn't the issue, would you go? I said, I'd leave tomorrow. She said, girl, meet me at the bank at 11 a.m. Met her at the bank. She gave me the money. Even called me back the next day and said, Seneca, I forgot. How are you going to get there? I said, well, I was going to go to church Sunday and ask my pastor, would he pay for the flight? She said, girl, don't even worry about that. I got plenty of Sky Miles. Here's my Sky Miles number. Call me when you get there. Best 7 days of my life when I got to Canyon Ranch. What I had been going through for 7 years that traditional doctors couldn't figure out in 7 years, they figured out in 7 days through holistic medicine. And so, of course, the $1 million question is always, how did you get through it? Like, how did you get this miraculous healing? And I said, well, there were kind of 7 steps that I went through, right? And I call it the power of positioning. And so I talk about 7 different principles. The first principle is the power of possibilities, right? That you have to first choose to live. Right? That you have to first choose to want to get out of a situation, choose to want to heal, choose to want to be better, right? Choose to be the best version of yourself. And so, you know, when God talks about, hey, I put before you life and death, now choose life, right? So I had to choose life. The second thing is the power of probing, right? Meaning I had to do my own homework. I had to investigate. I had to see what was out there and available to me, right? And so that's when I found out about Canyon Ranch, because I was just simply doing my homework and doing some research. The next step is the power of powerlessness. Okay. And this word is like, oh, well, I don't want to be powerless. Sometimes your best bet is to just be powerless, right? Because I had to be vulnerable.
Yes.
I had to
hear you.
Parent, right?
Yes.
I had to tell the world what was going on with me so that I could get the help that I needed.
Ooh.
Right? I had to be transparent with my girlfriend and say, hey, listen, something's going on. I don't know what it is, but and guess what? It led me to the fourth thing, which was the power of provision.
That's good. It's so good.
Because a lot of times we're not getting the things that we need is because we're not being transparent. We're not letting people know exactly what we need. Okay.
Our grandmothers used to say, a closed mouth don't get fed. But go ahead. I hear you. Come on.
My dad used to say, the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Gets the oil. Yes. Come on.
The squeaky, right? So I had to be that squeaky wheel. I had to, I had to be transparent. I had to be vulnerable. And so I had to relinquish my power and say, Lord, I don't know what else to do. I have to rely on you, that you will position people to give me what I need.
Yes. That's so
okay.
Good.
And then the next thing is the power of proactive participation, because I always tell people divine intervention does not negate human responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
That that's just because God is able does not mean that you can't do certain things for yourself. Right? When he said, let us make man in our image and our likeness and let them have dominion, meaning you have the same power that Jesus had when he was walking this earth. You have the same power to manifest the same things in your life. And so a lot of times we like, oh, well, I'm waiting on God. No, God waiting on you. God waiting on you to speak it into existence.
Oh my God, this is so good.
Absolutely. Yes. He's waiting on you to manifest the healing, manifest the money, manifest whatever it is, because he said, I've given you the power to create wealth for yourself. You ain't got to wait on me. I've given you all the tools and the resources you need.
Get to work, in other words.
Get to work, right? So that's the power of proactive participation, meaning you have to be proactive, not reactive. You have to be a part of your own, worldly, spiritual, emotional manifestations, whatever that is that you need. Okay. The next thing is the power of partnership.
Oh, that's good.
Because a lot of times it's hard to do it on your own. It's hard to do it by yourself, right? That's why he said it ain't good for man to be alone. And he wasn't just talking about the man, right? Because in that he was talking about spirit, meaning it's not good for us to walk around and be alone, that we need help. And it's okay to ask for the help that you need.
That's good.
Especially, and I have to make this very clear to women of color, because we've been taught and trained to be strong and independent and powerful. You know what I mean? And guess what? God damn it, you exhausted. That's why we're walking around with heart disease and liver disease and all these other.
In Jesus' name, you exhausted.
Exactly. In Jesus' name, we're exhausted. While we're walking around with all these preventative, ailments, things that we could prevent. Because we've been taught that to ask for help is to be is weak. And guess what? To be vulnerable is powerful. To be transparent is powerful, right? To ask for help is positioning you to be in a better position. It's okay to ask. It's okay to ask. So you've got to have that power of partnership. And then the last thing, right, which for me was the most important part, was the power of his presence.
That's good.
Yeah, that I couldn't, I would love to believe that, in my own human strength that I could do it. But no, that's why I had to go and grab that intrinsic power, the power that he's already given me, right? The power, who he is lives inside of me. And so I had to pull him out of me. Okay. So that I could get what I needed.
So I did not know, again, we were going to run this close to time.
Yeah.
You literally have 6 minutes.
Yes,
listen, you have given us enough in this one segment that if we would dissect each and every one of those 7 pillars, I'd like to call them, those 7 pillars of positioning.
Yes.
We could have a lifetime of success if we really just delved into each one of them. Mm-hmm. Since we're running low on time, I want to really connect you with the audience. How do people, first of all, work with you? But before we get to that,
Yes.
I want to go back to something you said specifically to women of color.
Yes.
And I don't know why this hit me right here, but I guess, again, the father dropped it.
Yeah.
Because we have had that toxic lesson for so many years historically, that we shut our mouths, that we don't talk about our pain, we don't ask for help. We literally become the beast of burden, thinking that that's a badge of honor. And what we're doing is working ourselves into an early grave.
Right.
Is there one specific thing, if you could give every sister out there a word of encouragement or a word of positioning? Sometimes it's not encouragement we need, it's positioning, it's trajectory. If you could give us one quick pearl, what would that be?
Oh gosh. Learn to rest in your femininity. Learn to rest in your femininity. Right? That you don't have to be so hard. You can take out that hard exterior. You don't have to build that wall so high. You can say, listen, I am a woman, and God designed me to be this way. He designed me to be emotional. He didn't design, we were never built to carry all this.
That's good.
Right. And a lot of times, because we, a lot of us have had fatherless homes and, have not had the structure that we needed. We've had to carry it. Right. Mm-hmm. But it's okay to put it down and say, I'm not going to carry it anymore.
It's a decision in your positioning.
It's a choice. And say, I don't care how anybody else feels about it. Listen, the dishes ain't going to get washed today. Listen, I'm not doing that. I'm going to rest in my femininity. I'm going to take time for myself to just do me and pamper myself, right? Because self-care has to be a part of your lifestyle. It's not a luxury. It's a lifestyle.
And it's a necessity at this point.
It's a necessity.
Because so much is happening right now that we're juggling and we're balancing and we're trying to do it all gracefully. It is a necessity at this point. And what I'm hearing you say is that we need to prioritize ourselves more. How do people work with you? And if if the class and if the course is anything like a 30-minute segment, you're going to slay them. How do people work with you?
Yeah. So I go by Seneca Dunmore on all my social media. I'm the easiest person to find, right? Seneca Dunmore, Seneca, last name Dunmore, Dunmore. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the social media platform. Just send me a DM or, send some information to my email or whatever the case may be. It's easy to get in contact with me. I have a couple of courses right now. One is on monetizing LinkedIn, showing people how to make their profile profitable, right? Because I believe one part of positioning is being financially in position, right? And then also I have the Powerhouse Professional Mentorship Mastermind Program, which teaches new and aspiring speakers how to basically maximize and monetize their speaking business. So I have a list of courses that you can dive into. And like I said, if you find me on social media, it'll lead you right to all my courses. And like I said, if you want to do maybe a 30-minute discovery session with me, just get on my calendar and we can make it happen.
And listen, it will be time well spent. I have thoroughly enjoyed this meeting of the sages, as I like to say, this meeting of the sages. I love your spirit. I do. I love your spirit. I love that you're a woman of the word, that you're led by your faith, and that you're not afraid to lead with faith. Because really and truly, there's so much that's happening right now. Faith is probably the clearest vision we can have, since nothing looks familiar right now. So for those of you who are taking notes, write that down. Faith is the clearest vision we can have right now because so much is unfamiliar right now.
That's right.
So to have voices like yours coming to the forefront even more, talking to us about positioning, about prayer and partnership and leveraging all of that into not just mental health, emotional health, but financial health.
Absolutely.
That can now take us into greater capacity is a gift. I'm so thankful to be a conduit of that gift. And listen, I want you to come back because we have just scratched the surface, my dear. We have just scratched the surface.
Absolutely.
I thoroughly enjoyed. So all of you, please make sure that you reach out to this dynamic leader. Her social media is Seneca. I've been called Seneca Dunmore. Dunmore. Boo. But all of her information is there on the screen. We'll also make sure that we have it in the description so that you can contact her. Do yourself, your team, your enterprise and your organization a really big favor. Connect with her.
Yes.
And when you do that, tell her that Miss Mogul sent you by.
Amen.
Love it. Listen, we have enjoyed the conversation. Thank you, my guest. Thank all of you for joining me today. Listen, if this is how we do it, then it's time to reposition ourselves. So the old paradigms, the old models, the old patterns don't work anymore. We have to be authentic, full of faith, full of power, full of positioning, self-aware, and then engage and move forward with courage. That's what I got from today's show, and I hope you got the same. I could go on and on, but I won't. Listen, it has been my pleasure to host you, my guests, and to host all of you. Join us here again next week for another dynamic leader and a wonderful conversation. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. Connect with us on our fan page on Facebook, Master Your Morning with Ms. Mogul, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mogul Life TV. And visit our website, youcancreateyourown economy.com and mommiescreatingeconomies.com.